As you may be able to tell, I'm currently seated in the third row of a family vehicle. What you might not guess, though, is that this is an EV. And frankly, that would have been a pretty bad guess if you're hedging your bets, because statistically, there just aren't that many three-row EVs out there. This is the Kia EV9, and it's substantially broadening its class, even while it blurs the lines by bringing us another 7-seater fully electric vehicle. If you need 8-passenger seating, you're SOL with the EV9 lineup, but the same is true of the Tesla Model X and the Rivian R1S. And yes, despite their price points, those are both vehicles that this Kia is aiming to compete with. And I actually think it's got a great shot, not just because this third row headroom is better than what you'll get in either of those. So let's check out what Kia's new flagship has to offer. And in those couple of seconds while I'm exiting the vehicle, I would love if you'd use that time to subscribe to this channel. I think this is a really good looking vehicle. You know, it's got sharp angles and creases and lines, but it's not boxy in that way that's sort of becoming basic because a lot of things are boxy these days. I also love this color. It's called Ivory Silver Matte. It's sort of pearl-like, both in color and in the sheen. I think it looks really great. I love how dynamic it is and how it kind of picks up some colors from the sky, and it looks really different on different planes of the creases. This front end has the digital tiger nose design. Unfortunately, though, you cannot get the digital grille with the matte colors, which I'm really bummed about because it's a very cool feature and I really wanted to show it to you. I'm sure Elliot can get some B-roll in there. We just have this blank space, but it would be a sort of constellation of little lights in here. They can come in different patterns, and that's why I'm so hyped about this, because it's actually a feature that can be customized after purchase, which I think is awesome and sort of revolutionary. What we do have here is these star map DRLs. That's going to come on every EV9. From the side here, we can see this really does look like a Kia SUV, maybe with a little bit of a twist, a little futuristic or sort of digital leaning, but more Kia SUV, more Telluride family resemblance than, say, the EV6, for example. One thing that throws me, this window surround and how it kind of comes to a point here but doesn't quite match the spoiler, that just feels a little bit weird to me, like a bit of a missed opportunity on those lines. The other thing I'm really not sure how I feel about is these wheels. They're 20-inch alloy wheels. What's with the triangle? There's a square option too, and to me, these just feel like that's just not the shape that wheels should be, and it feels a little bit out of place. I also don't love that this is plasticky. Like, I'm a little afraid that might come off. You do see hubcaps on the side of the road all the time, but hopefully that's nicely fixed. We can trust Kia. I want to know from you, what do you think about this triangle design on the wheels? Because I've heard kind of 50-50. Some people love it and some people hate it. The frunk is not huge. It's between 1.8 and 3.2 cubic feet, depending on your powertrain. Either way, it's smaller than I was expecting, but what I think this is really good for is if, for example, you need to buy some stinky food at the grocery and bring it home, you can put it right in here. Or maybe you're really trying to preserve that new car smell, but you have to leave leftovers in the car for a couple of hours. This is the perfect spot for that. Now, let's check out that interior that we're really trying to preserve. This gray plastic on the steering wheel and inside the door cards is interesting. I'm a little torn about it. It's a refreshing change from piano black plastic, and it's not nearly as smudgy. It feels kind of nice in that it's smooth, but it doesn't look expensive or premium, so it doesn't quite match the sort of visual air of the rest of the interior, which does feel pretty premium. This fabric on the dash, or maybe you can see it better on the side of the console, that looks nice and feels like it's going to hold up. On this console, we've got a wireless charging pad right here, a little covered cubby in here. I can fit my sunglasses and move them around a little bit. Not a lot else. You can cover your cup holders if you want to, expand those. There's not a lot of other covered storage. The best place to put a purse, for example, is going to be down here on the floor. You've got edges to this cubby to keep it from sliding around, but nothing to hide it. Tri-zone automatic climate control is standard with vents for the rear seats. I really like that the heated steering wheel has 2 different levels. I think that's really nice. Both front and second row seats are both heated and ventilated, and these seats are highly adjustable. I can move them in all kinds of ways, which I really appreciate, and memory will come in handy to get them right back where I want them. The driver's seat has a little leg rest that can come out so you can take a nap while you're charging if necessary. Passenger seat doesn't have that, but what it does have is controls on the side so the driver can tilt it forward or move it forward to make room for someone in the second row if they want to without having to lean all the way over and search for the controls. To get maximum seating capacity, you'll have to opt for the second row bench seat. This EV9 as equipped only seats 6, but these captain's chairs are great. They're super comfortable. For me, they're well worth the sacrifice of that extra seat. They clearly have not neglected second row passengers' comfort. We've got this cool little storage drawer and tray right here, so really it's the second row that's benefiting from the storage capacity of the center console, and we're not missing out because we still have our climate control right here within easy reach, buttons for the seat heating and ventilation here in the door, and USB-C ports on the back of the front seats. We've already seen the third row, of course. Cargo space behind it is competitive for the class at 20.2 cubic feet, which can be boosted to 43.5 with the third row folded down, or 81.7 with only the front row seats in place. I think this would be a great vehicle for a first-time EV buyer, which is not to say that I think someone who's used to EVs wouldn't be happy with it, but I think it would be a very easy adjustment process if this were going to be your first electric vehicle, because you can really get a pretty normal and intuitive driving experience out of it. It doesn't do that sort of pin you back in your seat, really aggressive acceleration thing that a lot of EVs do. Unless you stomp on it, you can make it do that, but otherwise, it's a pretty normal acceleration feel. It's not slow. It will get you up to speed and it will do that promptly. It's just gonna sort of whisk you there without a lot of drama. No hesitation, also no drama, which feels right to me for a family vehicle. I also really like that the steering is not too light, and I think that the control weight is really nicely balanced between the steering and the acceleration and the brakes. And I do want to mention you can use the flappy paddles on the steering wheel. You can turn that all the way up so that you have one pedal drive, or you can turn the regenerative braking all the way down so it basically just coasts and slows exactly like a regular old gas-powered vehicle would, or somewhere in between. It handles nicely and it's a really soft ride, very comfortable. I could see this being lovely on a road trip. If you are contemplating a road trip, you are of course going to want to know about range. This one has a range of 280 miles. The best you can get from the EV9 lineup is going to be 304 miles. That comes from the light, long range, which is rear-wheel drive only. This one has all-wheel drive. It also has more power, 379 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque, so significant upgrade over the rear-wheel drive EV9s. The EV9 does have DC fast charging capability, so with the right charger functioning at full speed, it should be able to go from 10 to 80% of your total battery charge in 25 minutes. The EV9 is really big on over-the-air updates and post-purchase customization options, as I already said when we talked about that digital grille. But for today, I'm going to focus on things I can actually show you, like this massive display, which is standard. It's actually made up of 3 screens. We've got a 12.3-inch driver information display, a 5-inch screen in the middle here dedicated to climate, that's always there, and then another 12.3-inch screen that's for your infotainment system. The menu looks a little bit different than what I've seen in other Kias I've driven. These tiles, it actually looks more like something we'd see in a Genesis or a Hyundai, but any new car is always going to involve an adjustment period, so I don't think that will really matter for you. It's more of an observation than a complaint. There are still hard controls in the middle here for climate and volume, power, but the way that they're laid out is much better than I've seen in some other Kias, just the clustering of the different types of controls. This whole bar here, this has buttons in it, and it's haptic feedback, which is really cool, but I keep finding myself resting my thumb on here, and then I'm meaning to do something, and I go back to home, or I accidentally go to search. Some of these things, like not knowing where the seat heating button is, those feel like I'll just get used to it within a week, right? That, to me, feels like something that I'll keep doing over and over. One thing that's really cool on the tech front is this button down here that lets you assign either charging only or data transmitting to the leftmost USB-C port, which is super handy because it's going to prevent the system from getting confused which phone it should be projecting at any given time, especially since wireless Apple CarPlay is also in play, and I do love that that's standard now. Finally, I want to point out one other thing that I love, which is that you can adjust the ambient lighting on 2 different levels. A ton of safety and advanced driver assistance features are standard, including full-speed adaptive cruise control with a machine learning feature, highway driving assist 2, safe exit assist, and of course, much more. What's not standard is the surround view monitor, blind spot view monitor, which is a really handy feature, remote smart park assist 2, and then several other features related to parking, because front, side, and rear park distance warning and parking collision avoidance assist are not necessarily always packaged together. So whichever trim you're considering, you'll want to take a close look at that. Now, quick story, I have had some trouble with the reverse automatic emergency braking. It was at night and it was raining, and I think the camera just got confused. There's this loop in my neighborhood where you can go all the way around one way, or what everybody does is just pull in a little bit at the front, back it up, and be off on your way. So you are briefly facing the wrong direction on a one-way street. That's what I was doing. It worked plenty of other times in this vehicle, but twice on a rainy night, it suddenly beeped at me and slammed on the brakes, and I was stuck. And I thought, oh no, was there an animal or a pedestrian behind me? Nope, nothing. I had plenty of room. It just got confused. The problem was that it would not let me override. I actually had to put it back into drive to then switch back into reverse and get a move on, which would have been a problem if somebody was coming as I was facing the wrong way on a one-way. As I've said, there just aren't a lot of 3-row EVs out there right now. We're basically limited to the Tesla Model X or Model Y, the Rivian R1S, or the Mercedes EQS or EQB for the moment. There are more coming, but right now we're looking at either small or expensive or both. The EQB, for example, very small. The Tesla Model Y is also pretty small by the time you get back to that 3rd row, and you can only get it if you opt for all-wheel drive and you spend an extra $3,000 to add those 3rd row seats. So that puts you up right around $50,000. Rivian R1S starts around $75,000. The Tesla Model X starts around $80,000 before options or anything. And then, of course, the Mercedes EQS is priced just about as astronomically as you would expect an S-Class EV with 3 rows to be. Base price for the 2024 Kia EV9 is $56,395, including destination. That's going to get you the light trim and rear-wheel drive with a 230-mile range and seating for 7, because you will have that bench seat in the middle row. This one stickers for $74,230. That includes destination, also carpeted cargo and floor mats, the towing package, and this fabulous color. And the over-the-air update capability means you can add things like new lighting schemes and even performance upgrades after you've bought the car, which is great news for commitment phobes and anyone who tends to panic or feel really under pressure making big decisions. Because buying a car is a big purchase, and there are a lot of things to think about, like warranties, for example. The Kia EV9 does come with Kia's famous warranty. It does not currently qualify for the full $7,500 federal tax credit if you purchase it. It does if you lease it, and that could change by the time you're watching this video. So to make sure that you have the full picture of the market at the moment that you're ready to purchase, you're going to want to do your shopping over at CarGurus.com. You can take advantage of unbiased deal ratings, pricing trends, and super transparent listings. Just please subscribe before you go.